There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I'm beating every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing everything on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up with a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. Portal Runner was developed by the 3DO company and released in the US September of 2001. While many consider this game to be a spin-off of the popular Army Men games, canonically it is the third game in the Sarge's Heroes trilogy. Sitting at a 53 out of 100 on Metacritic, the game was criticized harshly for the controls, bland graphics, and boring gameplay. Trip Hawkins, the president of 3DO at the time, sent an angry letter to GamePro, a video game magazine, stating how angry he was with the low scores they gave the game. The whole email can still be viewed online today and sadly helped end 3DO altogether. Can I beat this weird third Army Men game? If you've never played any of the Army Men games on PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, where you ran Sarge's army of green plastic men fighting tan plastic men with blue men somewhere in there never being shown, then you might not know much about Portal Runner, especially the main character, Vicky, and the villain, Bridget, because Vicky and Bridget are both parts of those armies, the green and the blue armies. However, they just don't have the same color skin, probably because they were worried that dudes weren't going to be able to get off to them very easy. Although, if you compare it to today's abominations online, things like the official Pokemon fanfiction from the goddamn company themselves, this is literally child's play. So I don't know why they thought it was necessary, but that's what they decided to choose. Sadly, there just isn't time to play with our privates, because our privates are fighting a war. So instead, we must take Vicky through various worlds, fighting other plastic toys until she gets to the end of the game. Now, the story for this one's a little odd. Like I said, if you don't know anything about them, then you won't know exactly what's going on, and there's a little bit of a history behind some of this stuff. So Bridget here is a spy from the Blue Army, an army we never actually see in any of the games, except for her, and that's the only reason we know about them. She is somehow the leader of the toy multiverse, living in the real world and being able to travel between these different playsets, where when she walks into them, of course, they are now suddenly real, through the power of imagination. She is bored though, and she does not like that she has nothing left to do in her life. And because of the past games, she remembers Sarge, or Sergeant Hawk, from the Army Men games, and she really likes him, and she thinks, he's gonna be my husband. But then she remembers Vicky, who she doesn't like, and she says, well, I'm gonna take Vicky, who is Sarge's girlfriend, get rid of her, and then force Sarge to marry me using a Martian gun from a playset that will make him love her. That's truth. That's the fucking truth, man. At the beginning of the game, we get control over Vicky, and she controls like a fucking piece of shit. She has tank controls, and you must use L1, R1 to strafe, which feels terrible. And there's no 180-degree turn, so Resident Evil God Hand, please tell everyone exactly how you handle tank controls in this day and age. Vicky has some very basic platforming / action adventure stuff that she does. She has a bow, and she has different arrows. There are basic arrows, and then there are a plethora of different arrows for small situations or because of the weaknesses of enemies. The basic arrows are something you'll always get, but they are limited just like every other arrow, so you've got to be careful because you can just run out. Although, does it feel like you need to be careful? Because you do have a lot of arrows to work with. Plus, a lot of the enemies are fairly simple. Once you get past them, you're done. This game is very short, so none of it is very difficult. I play on the third difficulty, which is normal. That's right, they have a dream difficulty. I don't think you can get hurt in that one. I feel like it's just you are invincible and you can run around as this voluptuous, kind of oddly animated woman running through this game. While you are firing randomly assigned arrows to your character, you will also be traveling through these different toy dimensions. This place obviously is a chessboard where we'll be jumping up and down platforms, and it's kind of cool, I guess. The problem is that the controls are so goddamn abysmal, I want to just end it all in this little dimension. I'm not really sure why you're picking up gems at this point, but I have this feeling it's just because they thought that's how you played video games, as picking up gems and getting points. You do get to pick up hearts, which heal your health, but the gems are just fucking useless, man. Like, why do I need the gems? Just give me like free lives to pick up somewhere or something. The one thing that I actually think works pretty well in the game is the shooting, because don't forget that the Army Men games are all about shooting little guns at each other, so the shooting mechanics in this aren't actually too terrible. Your bow reloads quickly, obviously she knocks another arrow up very fast. The aiming and shooting is very quick. and happens just like you'd expect it when you're aiming down sights with this bow. Apparently you have a little reticle that you can use, and she can fire free right from her hip, and it will kind of auto aim onto enemies. Those portions are actually not too bad, which is good because the rest of the controls suck. Platforming and walking around is just difficult, so if this was difficult to do, then it would have made the game abhorrent. Not that the game is really that good in any sense, but at least the shooting controls, something you're going to be doing a lot of, aren't too bad. Now, during this section of the game, you have control of her. You don't really know what's going on for the characters of the Green Army, who are the main characters. Really what it is that she is a reporter and she's bored. After they've captured the tan leader from the other games, they don't know what else to do with their lives, because apparently the Blue Army just doesn't exist anywhere else, and there's no other colored armies anywhere, and they're all about war, so they've got to do something. Well, she gets so bored that she follows Sarge, her boyfriend, on one of his missions and does save him, which is what we're doing now. Saving him from Gingerbread Land, I guess? After we save Sarge, Vicky is talking to her father, who is the leader of all the armies, is she adopted? I really don't understand why she doesn't have green skin. I bet nowadays you can find plenty of women with green skin to peruse on the internet, so why she doesn't hear, fuck it, whatever, man. Anyway, she's upset because she got in trouble for following Sarge on his mission, and it's because Sarge was like, oh yeah, Vicky followed me. So her dad is mad, and she's like, you tattled on me, asshole, and so she walks away. But after she walks away, she receives a mysterious package. The package has a dinosaur egg and a note that tells her if she wants the story of a lifetime, because she's a reporter even though she's in the middle of this army, if you want the story of a lifetime, go here and you'll find the story of a lifetime, which is the Dinosaur playset, something she's not really sure of at this point. Now, in earlier games, they have figured out how to go into the real world, and when you go into the real world, apparently you just turn into normal plastic, but through a special medicine called plastification, they can apparently function in the real world, which is why Bridget is walking between different playsets, and she's able to visit all these worlds. So apparently Vicky can do the same thing now, I don't know. So she leaves the army base to go find the story of a lifetime. The game tells us to blast our way into the caves here, and that's what we do. We aren't quite into the story of a lifetime yet for Vicky here, but we have to go through these caves, and it just feels kind of like I'm wandering around. There's nothing specific going on here. Nothing really makes that much sense, especially because this is supposed to be the Army Men playset. So what, we're going through caves and fighting things for what? I guess to get to the place we're supposed to go? I'm not really sure why we're here. This game isn't Guild Wars 2, but it for sure showed everyone how to use Vista Points, and I'm not really sure why you need them. I mean, I don't think they unlock anything, it just says you found a Vista Point, and that's it. We do get some explosive arrows, our first other arrow than the basic arrows, and it just kind of blows things up. It does deal extra damage to some enemies, but you'll find yourself using it to blow things up more often than not. You only get so many of the extra arrows, so you need to use them wisely. Now, most of the time when you're running around and you come to an area that has things to blow up or to use arrows for specifically, there will always somewhere be a spawn that will spawn one of that type of arrow, in case you run out completely. So you can't soft lock yourself in an area where you need to blow something up, for like the explosive arrows. There will be an area soon where if I run out of every single one of them, one will spawn in the middle of the arena, and I've got to go stand on it and pick it up and shoot it until I break whatever it is I need to break. Now, I tested out myself, and every time you shoot the arrow, another will spawn immediately. So if you stand on the spawn, you will have technically an infinite amount of those explosive arrows, but you can't move from the spot, so not helpful. At the end of the level, you get a little level complete screen showing how much of the level you completed, including the gems you picked up, which is practically the only reason you'd want to do the gems, is just getting 100% of the level complete. But weirdly enough, you see a lion on the screen with you. A lion we haven't yet met. The one we're about to meet, and they just didn't take him out of this screen for this area. I mean, we don't know who the lion is, but he's there hanging out. So this was a ruse by Bridget to get Vicky to come over to one of the portals where she is taking pictures of things for the story of a lifetime. Like, again, a story of a lifetime. So this robot tosses her ass through a portal into the dinosaur world, where the lion actually goes as well. The lion actually tries to help her a little bit, and she tries to help the lion, and they become fast friends, of course, because she needs a companion like the lion. So once they save each other and go into the playset, they are stuck there. He stops them from being able to leave the normal way. Oh man, look at her outfit now. This is why she couldn't have green skin. Oh, if you're playing games for this, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. But anyway, her and the lion decide it's time to fight dinosaurs, and that's what we must do. This area is rather large and undetailed. It feels like there's some details in there, but there's just something off about it. I wonder if it's just the large open areas with things that look scattered, instead of feeling like they are put somewhere specifically. And that's how all the worlds feel. It just feels like they were built so you can run through them, and not in a way that makes it feel immersive, which is fine. Not all games are gonna do that, but I'm already feeling it's an issue. So as we travel through this area, we also learn that you can kind of control your lion, and he has these little fire marks above his health in the bottom left, right above your health, which I didn't mention, but it's pretty obvious you have these little bars of health, and you can heal him with the hearts. His health is also pretty similar, but he also has this like aggressive bar, which is fire above him, and if you call him back to you, because you can send him out to fight or call him back to you, if you call him back to you, he will lose those little bars of fire, because eventually he will stop fighting entirely. I don't know why, but he just does. The problem is that the second you see any fire, the second you hit the button to call him back to you, it goes away. Now, it goes away in small amounts, but if you just slam on the button a few times and then hit the button for him to go attack, it's like he never had that issue in the first place, which really begs the question, why do they even have this mechanic? It is solvable in half of a second. Slam, 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 and then send him back out to attack. I mean, it's so quick. Sometimes in the later parts of the game, I never see the fire, because the second I see it, I'm pushing the button and having him go back out to attack. It's like, there's no point in having this mechanic. It's just busy work for the player. The environments are kind of big and open, and I'm not really sure why, especially because you have to backtrack to some areas. There's no map, there's no indicators showing you which way to go, there's nothing that really funnels you towards any specific direction. Again, things feel laid out simply because they made it that way. There is no reason for things to look the way they do, and I don't know how to describe that accurately, because a lot of games I've played so far feel like there's a purpose to them. Even some of the bad games feel like the levels funnel you towards things, but this level doesn't. It's just weird. I don't know how to explain it, but if you play it yourself, you can see, and if you watch the footage here, you can see it just feels uninspired. Okay, so here's Sarge looking around, probably wondering where Vicky is. Oh, it's the other voluptuous woman, Bridget, who is, I mean, she's not hiding the fact she wants to get with him, so, you know, that's fine. But anyway, she's like ready to steal him away and use the Martian gun on him once she gets the Martian gun. Apparently she didn't think this through and doesn't have the gun yet, so I don't know what she was doing. It's time to combine our efforts, and we get on top of the lion and ride him around. You can both attack with the lion and with your bow and arrow, which is kind of cool, I guess. You still have to worry about the little fire stuff for him and some like aggressive stuff, but you get to ride him around, and it's really, really bizarre because it is still tank-like controls. And when you jump, you get an enormous forward boost, and it's hard to tell what's going on. You also can pick up meat that will give him little boosts of speed to get over longer gaps. And that's it. You run around finding meat to boost yourself over gaps, and anything that's in your way, fire a couple arrows at, and you'll auto-aim and kill them. These portions also feel a little uninspired. It just feels like, oh, here's some gems in this area, go run at the gem, and then go find the right way to go. And then pick up some arrows, find some meat, jump, and shoot some dinosaurs. It doesn't feel like there's any direction. I'm just moving forward towards glowy things. In this next portion, there's a temple that is blocking progress, but only for the lion, because for some reason in this section he can't jump like he was earlier. So what we must do is collect a couple crests around the level by doing little puzzles, and then once you collect those, you must do a puzzle to move him on a platform up over the temple. And I want to reiterate again, he jumps higher than Vicky during the sequences you ride him. So why are we not riding him to jump over this? Who fucking knows? We get to see a cutscene after this of Bridget getting the tan army man soldiers. So I don't know why she didn't have the blue ones because she's part of the blue army, but she has the tan army man soldiers bringing down a playset of the Martians where she's going to go get that love gun, literally a love gun. And this isn't a Kiss song, nor is it a reference to a wiener, but it's definitely a gun that makes him love her. So they just pop this down and it opens up a portal immediately because imagination. Vicky and the lion are a mortal pair due to all the crazy dinosaurs and lava surrounding them as they make their way through this playset. And that sounds epic, but man, it's just kind of, you know, like, sure, the shooting isn't too bad, like I said. I'm able to shoot the pterodactyls in the sky, not with not too much of an issue, which was something I was worried about. We also start to get some ice arrows, which is neat, and, you know, falling in the lava really doesn't do that much damage to you, I guess. But yeah, you get the ice arrows and you can start icing stuff over. Vicky is still taking fucking pictures of her vacation, or whatever this is for her. I guess this is the story of her lifetimes. But for who? Everyone knows what's going on. Well, whatever. She's got a camera and there's a volcano we got to take care of. Okay, so the ice arrows take care of these rock monsters throwing lava at you. We've also got to get the explosive arrows and try not to get inside the lava ourselves. And the lion, you know, takes us around pretty quickly. At least this area is fast because of it. We find a portal leading directly into this knight's toy set, I guess. And in the knight's toy set, there's Merlin, who is wearing cute little glasses, but also there's a big chess set. And I'm not really sure why, but we're also dressed up in kind of scantily clad clothes yet again. I don't know why she's choosing all these very revealing outfits, but hey, you know what? She's not got green skin, so that's better for everyone. Anyway, we have to go through this platforming section, and this one sucks, man. This part right here is all about going up these platforms, taking care of stuff on each of the platforms, like the knights shooting arrows at you, and getting to the next spot. Now, there are some checkpoints. When you reach them, there will be another platform if you fall to get back on and go up to a different spot, making it a little easier for you to go back and forth through them. Now, the black spots are glowing, and if you jump on the black spots, you are just constantly damaged. So the idea is to only jump on the white squares, and then, you know, they'll flash sometimes, and you'll have to just make your way across this kind of slowly, taking care of the knights when you have a chance. And, well, you're not supposed to jump on these black squares, but, you know, who gives a shit? Once we get past this, Merlin tries to get with us, but, you know, Sarge is our only guy, so we don't take that from him. Anyway, he decides to help us, and he's like, okay, you gotta go forward and do shit, I guess. I don't know. What does this guy want? This next section has us destroying a magic barrier who's only able to be destroyed by using the elemental arrows, which do some damage to specific things, but are mostly just used for puzzles. And if you use them on other stuff, you better make sure it actually does the extra damage, otherwise there's no reason to use them. So in this section, you've got to pick up the lightning, water, fire, and explosive arrows to actually shoot the stone through these little archways while standing on the spot and shooting the exact side of the stone that also has the symbol on the ground. And once you do that, you break the magic barrier. Now, this sounds like it's a little complicated, but it's really not. You just find the arrows around you and then wait and shoot this. It's very simple. We then find ourselves in a dark forest fighting a large tree boss guy that we must scale, shoot certain things on him until we can get inside of him. I knew this game was sexual. Anyway, once you get inside of him, you gotta shoot some stuff going up some platforms and then you kill him. This section took me about an hour, but mostly because there's just a lot to travel through. There's just a lot of waiting and jumping across platforms, and anytime you make a mistake, you just gotta do it again. And it's easy to make a mistake with the controls the way they are. It feels very odd. You can kind of control Vicky in the air, but you can't control her very well on the ground the way you want to. It's just very awkward. I really wish they had thought a little bit more about the controls when they were doing it. But when you're in this part trying to jump away from these things zapping you with electricity, trying not to fall all the way down this tree, you gotta shoot this barrier that is moving around and only revealing the heart of the tree to you every so often. You just have to hope that you're not in the middle of falling or getting zapped while you turn to look at this barrier. Killing it gets us to the castle, but before we can get in the castle, we must fight another boss, which is this dragon. The bottom left corner, you can see his health bar, and he takes a lot of extra damage from the trident bow and arrow shots, which those arrows are just like triple arrows. It's a trident shape. It's 3 forks at the end, and that's all they really are. It's just 3 arrows hitting him. I guess it's better than the basic ones. I don't think the basic ones really hurt him, so you just gotta ride these platforms around while he shoots at you, and you gotta hope he doesn't hit you. Otherwise, he's really simple. Just run around picking up hearts when you need them and picking up some of the arrows, and then he's dead. After we kill the dragon, we see Bridget, who's spying secretly on Vicky through her little makeup lens, which is, you know, she's probably into her too. I mean, who's not? You know, she's not got green skin. So anyway, she's upset that Vicky is making her way through just fine, and I think she's gonna come save Sarge, which, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I mean, you're not a good person. You kidnapped him. What the fuck? Dude, look at how pissed she is. Look at that. That walk is actually animated well enough to show what she's feeling. The other walking animations in the game for both her and most of the other people look like crap, but this one really displays how cartoonily angry she is. But she's mad because they haven't helped her with the love gun, and I don't think they're going to. The next area is really, really annoying. There are a lot of different doors that have cards on the front that correspond with cards you've picked up. And those are practically just keys. Like think of Doom keys, the colored keys. Once you pick up a card, the doors you see with the same card you've picked up will open. You pick up all the cards eventually, and then you make it through the doors. The problem is that's it. There's a couple nights, and there's cards on the doors, and then you go through the doors. Once you go through a door, you'll find another card, which will lead you to another door. It is really, really boring. We get caught in a goddamn Team Rocket trap, and then Bridget just drags us away, dude. Like, what the fuck is happening? Leo the lion somehow escapes out of his cage and then fights the robot, which apparently the robot just can't handle the lion. And I'm seriously wondering what the hell is going on here at this point if a lion can beat a big ass robot. I mean, I suppose he's not doing a great job watching where he's standing, and that was just his fault, but damn. We then spend a short amount of time using the lion to run around and try and attack all these robots. Now this section right here looks a little chaotic, and that's because it freaking is. I don't know actually how you're supposed to do this, like what the intended way is, and if it's this way, it's stupid. The robot is standing in front of a door. There are lasers and explosives everywhere. You must go up and attack him and to kill him to go through the portal, or at least I think you need to. I don't think you can get around him and get in the portal without killing him. There's these like laser beams out of the door. But to do that, you must take a bunch of damage while you run over to attack him. The only way I found that was safe enough to do this was to run crazily through all this crap and then eventually get to him, smack him a couple times, pick up hearts, smack him a couple times, run away, pick up more hearts, smack him a couple times, and do this over and over until he dies. We then go through a series of little puzzles, and this one's a little tough because, well, it's hard to tell what's going on in front of you and where these things are going to be. The lion is also just long enough to stand directly in one spot to not get hit by these wheels. So if you don't want to get hit by the wheels, what you must do is this. If you stand sideways, you can do your little side jumps, but obviously then this allows you to see where the wheels are going to be and position yourself in a safe space. Otherwise, it's like impossible, man. If you make it through running straight through, you've figured out the series of wheels and the pattern that they're in. But like, who wants to sit there and do that unless you're speedrunning, right? Speedrunning, sure, that makes sense. But here, you just want to get through it, man. So just back up and forward, depending on where the wheels are coming from, and do some cute little side jumps until you get through. After playing as the lion for like an hour and a half, I'm serious, you play as just the lion with his running and swiping for an hour and a half. So there's like no real puzzles like Vicky with her different arrows and the way she jumps and grabs onto ledges. No, you just run. And at this point, all I need to do is run around this platform that has this like green stuff filling up the area. And every time you hit these weights, I think it lets the platform move up because Vicky is in the middle and you're trying to save her. I'm not really sure, but I just run around in circles smacking these over and over until the game says, you did it. Vicky and the lion then must run through these corridors with a time limit and try and get through. And that's it, man. Look at this big ass corridor with like nothing going on. You just run straight down the middle. Why is the corridor so big? Why is there so much to it? Why is there a time limit? This is just weird sections. And really what we must do is find the golden arrow, which is the only arrow that can break through Bridget's barriers. And to find it, we shoot some stuff, break some treasure chests until we find a golden arrow, and then we shoot the door. Now this next part's at least somewhat interesting. We are chasing a UFO with some aliens in it, the Martians, through different playsets. Now he will jump in and out of playsets, so you get to see all of the different locations. This is actually pretty smart for them to have done, because at least it makes it more interesting. Like, you're not just stuck in these very boring hallways. You are jumping through different portals into different areas. You do have to focus on trying to hit the UFO though, because the wedding is gonna happen, and apparently if the wedding happens, you know, Sarge is now gonna love her. I'm not really sure, but once you fight it and kill it, then you must run all the way back with no direction. You just have to remember the way you ran and go. Because by the way, the UFO is leading you around. You are following it of your own will, which at first sounds good, but there are a lot of corridors, and the meat you pick up makes you run faster, and so they planned for that by making longer corridors. And here we go, we're making it to the wedding just in time to see the game crash. And I don't know why it does this. The game doesn't seem overly dirty or scratched to me, so I have to skip this cutscene where I think they get betrayed. She doesn't actually get to marry him. So, you know, that's just pretend like that's what happens. Here we have to run through the ship without Leo in this very skin-tight, like, dress thing. And once we go through this area, blowing things apart, trying to get through these lasers and through the aliens, we get to a really cool section, actually, that has us jumping in 0G. Okay, it's not 0G specifically, but it is like being on the moon, I suppose. It's like a more weightlessness jumping. Once we go up and activate this, we can then jump around this whole area. But first we gotta scale it. It isn't very clear what you need to do here, but I jump around for a while, kind of finding it fun that I have more control in the air, because so far I've had what feels like little control in the air. So at least I feel like, oh yeah, I actually have a handle on my character here. We get to see a cute cutscene of the Lion and Sarge working together, kind of in the background while Vicky's doing the real important stuff. See, this is her feature game, so she gets to do the main A side, story stuff, which is cool. The last boss is actually fairly difficult and something I don't think they balanced very well. There are a ton of enemies and things spawning all over the place. There are buttons on the walls that will open some doors. The problem is that you just don't have very much in the way of healing. And with so many things attacking you, and a lot of those things being like instant attacks that just happen and you can't even dodge them, it's fairly difficult. So you need to pay attention to where you are in the level and run and get to hide behind something. The problem is that most of the things that you can hide behind will get blown up eventually, because that's just what it is. So then eventually you'll find yourself with nothing to hide behind. So shooting the buttons on the walls, not worth it. The things that are worth it are going through the doors that have lasers. You can make it through those very easily. Making it through those gets you some extra hearts to heal your health with, and it gets you special arrows to use, because the boss just doesn't take very much damage from anything but the special arrows. Now the best arrow to use is the piercing arrow that only spawns every 30 or 40 seconds. So you need to use all your lightning arrows, your explosive arrows, everything you can, have the boss break open the crates to make sure you can find anything underneath them, shoot any buttons you have access to that aren't out in the main room. These buttons right here, these are fine. These will open up the lasers, which is nice. But the other buttons open up other doors which just don't have anything in them. And then you need to use the piercing arrow. Use it once to deal a ton of damage to him, and once you deal that damage, run around in a place that's as safe as possible and wait for another spawn. Once you get the spawn of the piercing arrow again, you can then shoot him a couple times. It does take a bit. Like I said, the attacks are instant most of the time. You just can't dodge them. He has these little lightning attacks that kick your ass. You really just gotta waste time. Some of that can be jumping up to these platforms, getting the hearts and the gems up here. For some reason, he just can't lock onto you while you're hanging on the back of the platform or trying to get up there. Once you kill the alien boss, we then get this very cute picture of you win and Vicky lying there in a very interesting position with the lion who's got his eyes closed because he doesn't want to see that abomination. And that's it. The game is over. Bridget did betray the aliens after they betrayed her and tried to help us, but she's still not a good person, so, we're not letting her get away with it. So she gets to rot in jail with the tan plastic army dudes. And we get back together and everything's fine. That's it. It's over. It was a very uninspiring, kind of boring story of Vicky who runs around and shoots things with arrows, which is weird with everyone having guns and all these cool powers and special things. And she gets a bow and arrow with some elemental arrows. That's just kind of boring. But the controls are just horrid, man. The controls are horrid. And I really do wish they had spent some more time on it. Instead of yelling at gaming magazines for giving it a bad score. Literally the boss of 3DO yelling at people saying, too bad you gave it a bad score because we're your biggest, advertiser and stuff like that. Like we really say good things about you and I guess we're gonna have to cut back on that. And fuck you, dudes. Your game sucks. Anyway, this was game 106 finally beaten. A 5-hour adventure through pretty boring sets and pieces and just characters that aren't interesting in these sets and pieces. So whereas the other games were at least somewhat more interesting, I guess. I don't know. It's been a while since I've played those games, so maybe I don't like them either. But this game was just kind of boring, man. The controls were horrid and and collecting gems was stupid, and all the dudes were voiced by the same guy who voices Pete and Mickey Mouse. Literally the guy who voices Pete. Yeah, all of them were. The robot, Sarge, my dad, the tan plastic army dude, all of them were voiced by Pete for some reason. And the women were the only ones who were voiced by separate people. So, you know, I do not recommend this game at all. So Game 106 complete. Thank you so much, everyone who stayed this long to watch this abysmal little game. I'm giving this game a D on the tier list. It's at least playable, but I don't recommend it. That's the thing. It's not horrible in the way that you'd expect like Horses was, but it's not a fun game enough to recommend. It's okay if you happen to have it for a minute and play it, or downloaded it for an emulator and just play it for an afternoon, but it's not worth playing. There's so many other games out of the 4,000 games you can enjoy that this game is just not worth playing. So thank you for watching this, and thank you to anyone on the channel who has either donated or has become a member. This is one of the games chosen by a member, so thank you so much, and thank you guys for everything. You're making the channel possible. It's putting so many games on the list. We have like 80 requested games by this point. It's crazy. We're never gonna get to them all. I mean, we will eventually. Thank you to anyone who was in the stream, who watched this, who found it hilarious and silly. This playthrough was crazy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And that's it. I will see you guys for video 107 soon. Later.